Absolutely. All right, let's switch gears here and talk politics. A new poll is showing Rick Santorum is gaining more support from Republican women. Critics said some of his conservative views on abortion, birth control, and women in combat would actually hurt him at the polls.
Not so.
And you know, in 2008, women cast nearly 8 million more votes than men did. So this is a real hot-button issue here, and we've got lots of folks to talk about it this morning. Republican strategist Matt McCoviak, Democratic strategist Marjorie Clifton, and political reporter for Roll Call David Drucker. Thanks for being with us, Matt. I'm going to begin with you. We're going to put up a poll here. It's a Washington Post ABC News poll, and it shows that 57% of women view Santorum favorably. That's actually up 13 points since January, very close to Romney. But recent polling shows Romney with an edge in women in Arizona. We'd previously talked about Santorum perhaps having a woman problem. What should we read into this?
Well, I think Santorum gives you something to be for, and I think that's something that people are starting to see. You know, he's not as well known as Romney is. He's been towards the lesser-known candidates throughout this race until very recently. You know, a lot of times when you talk about these reproductive health issues, the views are brought up from the pro-choice perspective. They're not always brought up from the pro-life perspective. There are many pro-life women across the country, and they see someone like Senator Santorum, who's a real champion for pro-life causes, and they want to be for him. So he's someone that has a very attractive, large family. He's a strong Christian, strong Catholic. And he's someone who has real conviction and real courage, and he's demonstrated that on the campaign trail in a way that people are starting to see over the last few months.
Marjorie, I want you to weigh in on this, being a woman and the only woman on this panel, but you're also a Democrat. So let's talk about some of these things. You know, he's been called closed-minded. Some of his comments have been controversial. Women in the military, women in the workforce. We just talked about birth control. Does it surprise you that his numbers in women and the support of the GOP, or women in particular, Republican women, does that surprise you?
Well, I think the bump has everything to do with what Matt just mentioned, is this sort of new notoriety that Santorum has had recently. But I think it actually has more to do with the economy, in that Romney is still seen as that outsider elitist type, and that Santorum is getting more traction, is seen by the middle class and more down to earth, more in touch with what women are dealing with, which is the same economic hurt that the rest of the country is dealing with. But if you look historically, now, women were actually 51% of the population, and the big surge in women voting in the last cycle actually had a lot to do with Hillary Clinton being part of the race, and then that enthusiasm transferred over to Obama. And McCain actually only polled about 43% of women. In 2004, Bush had about 47% of women. So in general, women skew more towards the Democratic candidate for reasons, social reasons, such as contraception, abortion. And I think these recent debates about birth control in particular, and a lot of Santorum's comments, haven't caught up with him yet. So I think when the social issues catch up, which they're going to, and that's already started, as we saw in the Arizona debate.
That's kind of his platform, right? So, you know,
it is. Yeah.
You got to think that it's weighing in.
So I don't believe that this is going to hold for women. I can't believe that. I think it has more to do with the economy right now. And again, as the economy is improving, I think that will change as social issues come to the forefront.
All right, David, I'm going to switch gears here, and I'm going to look way, way, way ahead. I want to talk about Marco Rubio, the Republican senator from Florida. He is of Cuban descent, we know, but there are new details right now out about his faith journey. He was baptized into the Catholic faith as a baby, then baptized into the Mormon Church at the age of 8, then back to Catholicism 4 years later. He attends Catholic and Baptist churches. His name is often floated around as a vice presidential candidate. Good, bad, doesn't matter.
You know, I've been thinking about this overnight, and I really don't think it matters at the end of the day. I think maybe if we would have found out that he was secretly a practicing member of a religion and he was lying about it, that could have been a problem. If he would have changed religions last week as an adult, maybe that would have been a problem. But a lot of people, especially when they're young in America, generally go through a sort of faith journey, and I think it's something a lot of Americans can identify with. And I'll say this, it was a great article in BuzzFeed that talked about this, but my takeaway from the article was a relative of Marco Rubio saying he's into religion. Religion and football, those are his things. Guess what? Most American voters are into religion and football, particularly in the South and the Midwest. I really don't think this is a problem.
All right, Matt, Marjorie, David, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Although you do wonder if most